else? What else? A-F-R-I-C-A. Come on, come on, come on. A-F-R-I-C-A. Just let's go. So let's dance now. It is my turn. Just want
Welcome back. Now we're going to be switching things over now, talking Nigeria in 2016, factors that will shape the economy and security in 2016. And I have here with me Ahmed Agbabiaka. Thanks for being here today. And of course, Adeni Jayola. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
There's so much to talk about. I mean, the economy can take us 2 days, in fact, because that's going to be, I said that's probably what's going to shape 2016. Politics was what shaped 2015. This year is going to be the economy. I mean, everybody seems to know what the dollar rate is every day now.
Yeah.
People even know oil prices. People who don't read newspapers know what oil sells for every day. I mean, it's such a big deal now. And I don't know, are we on the right path? Especially when you look at the budget that was presented and withdrawn, from what I hear. I don't know if that's true. But when you look at that budget, what does 2016 hold for us?
I think for the first time, I think we have a government that is under pressure and that has the mandate directly now from the people, in the sense that everybody is watching and wanting to see how they perform step by step in line with what they've proposed in the budget and the feasibility of it, the workability of the budget. So I think we should be expecting a lot. We just started the year and we are hoping for the best. So I think we are on the right path in that regard, yes. We're on the right path.
Yeah, I know that we're going to be focusing more on security today, and still talking about the budget now. The defense budget was cut seriously from what it was last year, even though we know where all of last year's money
went to.
is starting to look like where we know where it went to eventually, you know. Are you comfortable with what the Ministry of Defense and Internal Affairs, actually, because those are the two main ministries that are going to be spending on security this year, what is allocated to them? Are you comfortable with what you've seen?
Well, yeah, there was a budget cut for the Ministry of Defense for this year. But we also have to put into context the fact that this government is more capable of ensuring that what was budgeted for defense does go into defense. You know, we had a situation
but
last
yet to
year.
know that, though.
Yeah,
it's their first budget.
Yeah, it seems like, you know, this government is honest enough. I mean, anti-corruption is the major card that they played into power. So I expect that, you know, this government, it has demonstrated the will, though, in the first, you know, from when they were sworn into power up until now, to ensure that, you know, there's security up north. And, yeah, the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, I believe, will ensure that what was budgeted to defense, even though it was less than what was budgeted last year, will go into defense, and we won't have those cases of soldiers complaining of salaries not being paid or being sent forth into the battlefront without ammunition and all of that. So that will be reduced this year.
It's very interesting how corruption has become the main factor now with security. I mean, last year, almost $1 trillion, or about $1 trillion naira was budgeted for defense. And, you know, now we're hearing all of these stories about monies being shared across board for reasons we're still yet to find out if they are even true or not, you know. And the war, like you said, the war against corruption was the trump card for the Buhari presidency when they were campaigning. And security is probably the biggest issue in Nigeria today. So these two have become so interwoven that they must both be priority for the government.
Yes.
He says he feels that they have the capacity to achieve that. Do you think so?
The government as it is right now, I think with the seriousness from the presidency to all other facets of government, all the MDAs, everybody is fastening their belts now, their seat belts right now, to ensure that you see the perception of the president himself, the helmsman, is helping shape a lot of things. You know, one of the major problems that we have.
How long can perception take him, though?
Well,
action?
For as long as he is sincere, and for as long as he follows the way he's going right now, you know, the anti-corruption angle of it, and the accountability, sort of the perception about the accountability. Everybody is trying to watch out. You know, there's no longer the jamboree, the Abuja jamboree for politicians right now. You know, the National Assembly is trying to sit up. The president can, at least for the first time, come out and speak and use himself as an example that, well, on the car issues now. you know, an amount of money was budgeted for him, and he said he rejected it. Why should the National Assembly do that? We've had this for a very long time, you know, so I think it's a good thing. So in that regard, you know, for now, perception is the only thing we can use to judge this government as far as budget implementation is concerned.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen what they've budgeted and the kind of seriousness that we've seen in the, especially with the Empower works and, you know, the person in the helms of affairs.
Yeah.
You know, he has gone so far, he has gone round and, you know, trying to make sure that the everything is put in place. If the money starts trickling or if the time for execution comes, I think all is going to be fixed and put in place here. So I think we're in the right path. And
We've talked about perception a lot, and yes, for a lot of people, it's what nothing, to be very honest. Yeah, especially now that they have presented a budget, the government is in full effect now. They're ministers, so there's really no room for excuses anymore.
Yeah.
And the one thing that's caught a lot of people a little wary was the assertion by the Minister of Information, I think, saying that he had technically won the war against Boko Haram. And most people are trying to understand what the technicality is, you know. And if people are still dying almost on a daily basis, and IDPs are increasing by the day, you know, and people cannot just go back home anymore. What does technical mean? This perception, is this a lie? Is this statement something we should hold on to? Are these things going to start washing down that perception?
Personally, technicality doesn't come into play when, you know, you understand the value of life. You know, if Nigeria and, you know, the governments we have in power and our spokespeople consider the intricate value of a human life, then maybe we will not be judging the success or not of the war against Boko Haram by technicalities of the ability of Boko Haram to stage the attacks like they used to a year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So going by what the spokesperson of the government said on the technicality of us winning the war against Boko Haram, I think you know, they need to go back and look at the terms by which they define victory against the Boko Haram sect, because the value of any human life, a Nigerian human life, is sacrosanct.
I think I have a personal experience on this Boko Haram and their efficacy, and also I have two younger brothers, my biological younger brothers that are in the military. Okay. One a corporal in the special force, you know, that serves in Maiduguri. Presently, they've been there for like more than 2 years, you know. There are these issues on the operations of Boko Haram. As at the time these statements were made by the president and the minister on the issue of these technicalities, technically won and all that, you see, as at that time, no one can actually fault them until Boko Haram came with their sort of attacks. From what I heard directly from the people on ground, you know, the kind of attack is something that even the world power, the best of the military, cannot contain. You know, you have people strapped with suicide, with bombs, you know, spread around a community. A bomb goes off, and by the time people are trying to gather, the person running beside you is also strapped with a bomb, and at any time can defuse it and all that. You see, these are kind of wars that that would be very difficult for anybody, for any professional.
Which is why a lot of people thought it was a little weird that the president said the war was going to be won by December 2015, because we all know that the Boko Haram and the issues in the northeast had gone on for so long and had become so ingrained that it would take more than just arresting a few people or capturing or recapturing towns, because mindsets have been changed. So, I mean, if you're going to make statements, we have to hold you to it, shouldn't we?
Of course, well, that's true. If there's one major setback, you know, for this government, is the fact that they place a timeline in defeating terrorism. You know, we've had experience in Iraq. The way it is right now, the almighty Gaddafi is dead, Saddam Hussein is dead. But you say you have, up till this moment, the almighty United States can still not curtail what is going on right now. All we have is militia here and there and all that. But I think we should give the government, our government, this credit that, well, we'll be able to curtail them to a point where they have they don't have the ability to monster such attacks, you know, on military bases, you know, coordinated attacks. So what they are doing right now is what I think nobody can actually contain military-wise, So, but we have to watch the statements we make. It infuriates a lot of people, and it could cost us a lot.
Yeah. I think the terms by which they've defined victory is just insensitive to, the plight of people that actually feel those losses up north and wherever they are in Nigeria. So they need to redefine the terms of victory and, channel their efforts towards bringing permanent solution to the problem.
Something else that has come up for a lot of people is, how this present government is handling what we will call, they're not necessarily new incidents, but these are things that are starting to rear their head or have read their head even more now under this presidency. One was the Shiite incident in Zaria. Another is the Biafra thing going on in the southeast. So these are things that are sort of brewing, and we're not sure how it's been handled, or if it's been handled, or if it's been handled well. People are still watching to see, is this going to become a whole other thing than it is now? Are you comfortable with this, with the way both incidents have been handled?
Well,
or are being handled? You understand?
Well, yeah, so the Shiite sect issue, the Shiite sect is not a new sect in Nigeria from what we, gather. They've been there, and the sects had grown in strength over a period of time. They were constituting a government within sovereignty of Nigeria, which is, it's a crime. But the particular issue is how the army handled the situation on the day where, they lost a lot of, the Shiite sect was said to have lost a lot of people. I mean, what was the rules of engagement? By what terms did military personnel run by when they opened fire against those? Because from the videos we saw, videos can be edited, but we saw that these Shiite sect people were armed with sticks and cutlasses, as opposed to the military that was armed with guns and machine guns. There was no balance. There was no balance, between the Nigerian army and the Shiite sect. So it really needs to be investigated. I understand the case is in court right now, and reports have been made and all of that. But it really needs to be investigated on what terms exactly the Nigerian army opened fire engaged those Shiite sect.
Well, on the issue of if we want to base whatever thing we are saying right now on the clips we've seen so far, I think the major casualties, or where people were actually fighting the military, actually came after that incident on the video, on the clip. Fine, the military were armed, to the tooth, while these people were armed with cutlasses and sticks and all that. But I think it calls to question the kind of government we have. If we have about 5 or 6 generals with the chief of army staff, and some group of people, barricaded them or stopped them from passing by, just pass by. We had them begging that they should please. They were trying to place calls to some of their leaders here and there. It didn't happen. Don't forget some of the neighbors of these people, in the area, in the community where they are, have been complaining for a very long time. Perhaps there wasn't that will from the government. So I think, just like you said, there is a serious need to investigate the rule of engagement, on how the whole thing happened. Before then, I don't think we should blame our military for what they've done. If that clip had gone by, I can't imagine a situation where the chief of army staff will have turned back and allowed them be, then call in the police, and these people will stay there, finish their rights, and go back home, and everything just goes on rosy, and we expect the same thing next year. I don't think what if we're in a situation where Christians were passing by? So it's an extremism to an extent.
I don't even know that it's mostly a religious thing. I think it's more, like you said, the fact that they were obstructing the thoroughfare. But
yes,